The president of El Salvador is offering to take in deportees and U.S. criminals at its prisons, including American citizens. There are many legal questions surrounding the offer, but if the Trump administration accepts, some of those individuals could be sent to one of the country's maximum security prisons. CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano got a rare first-hand look.
El Salvador has the highest number of per capita incarcerated people, and this place, more than just one of the most maximum security prisons anywhere in the region or in the world, is a symbol. It's called the Center for the Confinement of Terrorism. It's a place that was designed specifically to contain El Salvador's most dangerous gangs and their leadership, and it's a place that the government hopes will send a message that will reverberate not just throughout the country, the region, but also into the U.S. and the world.
Lilia Luciano joins us now. Lilia, thank you so much. Can you describe what you saw and what did prisoners tell you?
Well, Lindsay, what I saw was something that is hard to describe. I mean, you walk into El Secot, which is one of the most maximum security prisons anywhere in Latin America. It's a real source of pride for President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador. And the message that he's sending through everything that we saw, the order, the uniform, the lack of, I guess, markers of identity, of course, outside of the gang tattoos that the prisoners have, because this is a prison that was designed for the leadership. There's about 20,000 of them, and for other members of El Salvador's very notorious gangs, is that they are able to crack down on organized crime. This is the message that they send. Prisoners cannot ever receive visitors. The only visits they get is people like us walking in and seeing how it works. They have invited politicians from the region, just people who are not in any way related to the prisoners. They can only do hearings through Zoom. This is all, according to the government, in an effort to contain any information from getting out. I sat with the Minister of Security and I rode along with the Minister of Defense, and what they said is, look, they've gotten it wrong in Latin America and in the U.S. and in the world by allowing prisoners to communicate with the outside world. That is how they run their operations in the entire continent. We want to share with the world our model. And as you know, we also want to invite the U.S. to send their convicted criminals, whether they are U.S. citizens or deportees, to these prisons.
What more can you tell us about the legal implications there of U.S. citizens going there?
I've been talking to legal experts, to attorneys and people who deal with immigration. And, of course, when the offer came out, everybody said, well, this is impossible. But there is a caveat. There are ways in which American citizens could lose their citizenship, but it's only people who've been naturalized, people who have become citizens, not people who were born in the U.S. And for those people, there are very specific ways you can lose your citizenship. One of the reasons is if it involves fraud. So if anybody, not if you just committed a crime, but if you committed fraud in the process, then you could be stripped of your citizenship. One thing that an attorney was telling me today is that during the first Trump term, they really ramped up the denaturalization office in the federal government. So, this is obviously speculative, and President Trump and also Secretary of State Marco Rubio have both addressed the difficulty, legally speaking, of sending U.S. citizens abroad as deportees. But what we do know is that there are ways for some people to lose their citizenship. And one thing that, is important to keep in mind, these gangs started in the West Coast, in the United States. I spoke with an inmate who told me he was born in El Salvador, but he lived most of his life in the U.S. and he joined the MS-13 while being in the U.S. So there's a lot of people who might, be based in the U.S., whole life in the U.S., not be citizens, and might end up there. But that's convicted prisoners.
We look forward to more of your reporting on Friday night on the CBS Evening News. Thank you, Lilia Luciano.